Hi, I'm Lynn Bridgeford from the Bias Clinic and Bias Yoga, and today we're going to talk about the third trimester of pregnancy. So starting in clinic, we're going to talk about some clinical things, what's happening with you, what's happening with the baby. Then we'll go downstairs to the yoga studio to do some safe and gentle exercises to help you through this third trimester of pregnancy. So get comfortable and join me in a moment. By the third trimester, you'll be starting to grow, the baby's continuing to grow, and you may have pressure on your diaphragm, on your lungs, affecting your breathing, giving you indigestion. These are things I help women with in their third trimester in clinic. It is possible to make more space. There's also some ability with exercises to help us too, which I'll show you down in the studio. As your bump gets bigger, your back will be under more strain, as will your joints, your pelvic region. You'll have compression possibly around the pelvic region, which could give you constipation or piles, restless legs, all these kind of things from a compression with the baby getting bigger. And you may start to feel, as the baby grows, that you have more pressure on your bladder like you had in the first trimester. You can experience some of the similar growing pains from the round ligament and around the side of the belly that I explained in second trimester, as well as getting Braxton Hicks, those trial contractions that last for a short while and shouldn't be painful. They're just like a tightening up. That should be quite safe. If you're worried about anything, please see your doctor. During this third trimester, you're more likely to feel extremely hot as you have a growing baby inside you, and the hormones can wreak havoc with your digestion and possibly even moods. And none of this needs to be a problem, although it can be uncomfortable. You're more likely to get swollen hands and feet, perhaps a little bit of dizziness and tiredness as you are getting bigger and carrying around an extra weight. There's more tendency towards urine infections and vaginal infections, and you may get some brown marks on your face, known as sclerasma, the mask of pregnancy. You may find that you prefer to eat little and often to ease any pressure on the organs as they are all moving around. You'll find that your ovaries, whether you know it or not, are probably closer to your rib cage than to your pelvis by this stage. It's all perfectly normal. Everything needs to move around to make space as the baby grows. In the last trimester, these things can cause some discomfort, and there are ways to ease them and to adapt. Another issue can be sleeping problems, partly due to the changing hormones. I often help women in their pregnancy by working with the cranium and the centers in the head that govern hormones, and help them get a few good nights sleep after a treatment. It's particularly important still to avoid people with infections, so avoid cleaning the cat litter box because there's a risk of toxoplasmosis. Avoid anybody who has any infections, and if you haven't had childhood diseases and you come into contact with someone, please consult your doctor. All the similar restrictions on food apply as in the first trimester. We discussed that in the first video. And of course, eat healthily and lots of fruit and vegetables, whatever you can manage, some good protein, and eat little and often so that you can accommodate the pressure on your digestive system. By 29 weeks at the start of the third trimester, you may be getting breathless from the baby pressing on the lungs and the diaphragm, and you may be peeing more from the baby pressing on the bladder again. You may be starting to feel a little bit awkward in carrying around this extra weight as your centre of gravity changes. I usually help people change their centre of gravity when they're pregnant, and I will show you that in yoga studio later. It's good to rest when you can. A very common thing is that as you lay down to rest, your baby starts to get active and wakes you up. So take the rest where you can. I know you may have a busy life, you may have children, you may still be working. It is important to get the rest you need. At 29 weeks, your baby's about 33 centimetres long, the size of a butternut squash. By 30 weeks, you're 3/4 of the way there, and although you may feel ready to drop, there's still a way to go, and your baby has more growing to do over the next few weeks. Many babies born at this time survive and live very good lives. However, it's best to keep them in until due date where we can. You may have itching as the belly expands, and you may find yourself breathless going upstairs because of the extra pressure on the diaphragm as you're moving around. And you may start to have vivid dreams. You may have fear dreams about giving birth in strange places or what's going to happen. These are nothing to worry about. It's possibly an unknown if it's your first child. If it's your second or third or more children, then perhaps you have fears from a previous birth. Just allow the dream world to ease these things through, and when you wake up, take a deep breath and know that it was just a dream. We do have all kinds of dreams, and some of them are fear dreams, some of them are angst dreams, some of them are wish fulfillment. So just breathe in, breathe out, let it go. At this stage, your baby is about the size of a large cabbage. By 31 weeks, you have 6 to 10 weeks to go, and your baby is still growing and maybe now the size of a coconut. You will both go through a growth spurt in the remaining part of the pregnancy. By 32 weeks, your baby's the size of a squash, and you may feel that you're starting to waddle. In fact, it is quite good to walk with your feet apart a little bit for stability. And if you're getting tired, remember it is good to sit down, put your feet up, give yourself some time to rest and take the weight off your feet to help your circulation. By 33 weeks, the baby is about the size of a pineapple, and you're starting to find that your bump gets in the way of everything, sitting at a table, getting in a car. However, you should be getting used to the adjustments you have to make and dealing with it fine. The main thing at this stage will be manoeuvring around comfortably and dealing with the tiredness, and partly the tiredness of carrying around extra weight. So take rest, stick your feet up. At 34 weeks, the baby's the size of a large melon, and you may feel like everything's getting squished up inside. And also what can happen is the baby descends, the head descends into the pelvis. It's what's called engagement. And although that puts more pressure in the pelvic area, it frees up some of the abdomen and can release some of the symptoms you've been having related to digestion. This lightening, as it's called, is often a welcome relief, and it doesn't always happen until a little later on. Enjoy it when it does. It may be more of a challenge to walk around unless you've been keeping yourself good and fit, though you should be able to eat a little bit more freely now and be back to regular meals as there's space for the upper digestion. Your breasts will be growing a lot now. Really make sure you have a good support bra, and you may be leaking a yellow fluid called colostrum. This is the first milk with a lot of antibodies in it. By 35 weeks, your baby would be about the size of a honeydew melon, and you could be getting sore ribs because the head's engaged and the baby would be kicking away and kicking the ribs. So this is quite normal. If you have particular pain, then see your doctor in case you have something like preeclampsia, or see your midwife. If the baby's head isn't engaged, you may have a different position of the baby. Your midwife should be able to check that for you, and there is still the possibility to get the baby to move into the right position. I've helped many women get their babies in the right position for delivery. By 36 weeks, your baby's getting plumper by the day and should weigh about 6 pounds, so 2.7 kilos. So that's a good weight already. You may find that you have nesting instincts and want to decorate the house, change all sorts of things. Just take care that you're looking after your body, get some help with it if you can, and pace yourself so that you don't let the nesting instinct take you into ways that aren't helpful for your body. At this stage, the pelvic floor could be starting to relax to prepare for the delivery, and you may notice that you have a little leakage of urine. So it's good to exercise the pelvic floor so we get that strength in the pelvic floor muscles, as well as having them relax and contract so that we have the control. At 37 weeks, your baby is considered full term and is about the size of a large stalk of Swiss chard. So the baby could come any time now and it would be considered full term. Quite exciting. If you're having twins, then it's usually about this time that they will deliver, usually not beyond 38 weeks. Most babies will be now engaged head down, and you'll have relief from those digestive symptoms of indigestion, heartburn. Don't worry if the baby's not fully engaged, or if it's in breech position, so that could be a footling breech or a bottom down breech. Let your midwife and your scanning specialist explore for you and see what help you can get. As I said previously, it is possible to help with osteopathy and some exercises to help the baby into the optimum position, and sometimes there is a medical intervention needed to help them turn. I've worked with women who are having the intervention and they are convinced that the work we've done has also helped that to go smoothly. You may have more vaginal discharge and stronger Braxton Hicks at this stage. If they go on longer and are more painful, then just check that you're not in labour. I have had some women go into labour on my table, which has been very exciting, and there's no great rush that they have to immediately run to the hospital because it's not usually that quick, although I have had one or two who I've suggested camp out by the hospital for the next one because the last one was so fast. 38 weeks, you may be getting a bit bored with waiting, wanting to meet your new baby, and the baby is now the size of a large rhubarb stick. By 39 weeks, the baby is the size of a watermelon, and you may be wondering how much longer this can go on. You may still get the sudden burst of the nesting instinct and the Braxton Hicks. You will most likely have pressure on your pelvis and through to your low back, where the baby is now engaged and waiting to come. By 40 weeks, it should be time for the baby to come, and you may start getting those signs of going into labour. And if the baby is late, although some babies have their own timing, you may be invited for an induction or a sweep to help start the labour. So that's just a snapshot of some of the things going on in the body in this last trimester. We will cover the birth and preparation in another video. Please join me downstairs in the yoga studio for some safe, gentle exercises to help the third trimester. We're going to look at a postural tip and also show you the key exercises I showed you in the last video with very slight adaptations, and then I'll put together a little sequence for you to follow for energizing and relaxing, stretching and strengthening. So the tendency with a bigger belly is to lean back and put pressure on the back, and that puts a lot of pressure through the neck and shoulders as well. I am exaggerating. So with the extra lordosis, the curve in the back, a very simple way is to bring your weight back on the heels a little so you get that lengthening in the spine, feel like you're lifting through the top of the head, and then the bump can be better supported with a nice free back. Just experiment and find where that works for you, that you can have your centre of gravity between your heels, shoulders above the hips, crown above the base, and then the bump supported. So the modification at this stage for the warrior pose is to have the legs wider apart. We step forward so they're wider than hip width, and when we bend we have more space for the belly, so that would be reaching up or opening to the side. In cat-cow we may also need the knees further apart, so just set that up and perhaps bring the hands a little further apart just to balance that. The piriformis stretch we're going to need to do sitting down in a chair. I will show you how to do that differently because laying down is not such a good option anymore. And any squats we're doing, like Utkatasana, we need to be wider. So join me in a little sequence I've put together for you. We're going to start with some movements to keep the pelvis nice and relaxed. So feet apart, nice and wide, bend the knees. So we've got a straight spine, so nice comfortable position. And we're just going to have a few wiggles and rotations. So we're freeing all the way through the pelvis, keeping mobility. This is a very good way to work through delivery as well. Belly dancing, rotating the hips. With the knees wide enough apart and the hands a little wider to balance, and the distance between the hands and the knees is about the length of the spine. Lengthening through the spine so we allow the belly to hang nice and freely. You can have a little wiggle, just gently ease through the spine, having a little wag of the tail. Get everything moving nicely, allow the belly to hang. Important way to spend time every day. You may also like to put your hands up on a couch if you don't want to take the pressure on your arms, or if you have a ball, you can do it on the ball. To do cat-cow to get the mobility in the spine, so we're going to tuck the tailbone under, lift the chest, curl the head around. I'm going to lengthen through the spine, lift the tailbone, lift the chest, lift the head. If you want to combine with some breathing, breathe into the lower lung, curl around the tailbone, middle lung, curl around the chest, upper lung, curl around the head, lift the tailbone, lift the chest, lift the head. Come back to a neutral spot, have a little wiggle. Just get some freedom in the spine. Make sure, experiment and find where you have that comfortable place where your pelvis is nice and relaxed, spine is nice and straight, so the belly can just hang down. I'm going to take a wide pose of a child, so knees nice and wide. Sit back on the heels. If you have a ball, you can use a ball to relax onto. You might like to get some pillows for pose of a child. Find the right angle where you can support your head and let your belly hang. You may need to have it a little further away if you want to stretch out more in the groin. Lengthen forwards, support the head, relax the shoulders, let the belly hang and let the back be free. It depends on your flexibility. Another alternative is to put the pillows underneath your breasts unless they're too sore, and just relax there. Coming up on all fours again with the knees wide apart. We're going to take a big step forwards with the front legs. Coming up, supported on that knee, and we're going to stretch the psoas muscle by leaning forwards. So make sure we're wide enough so there's space for the belly. Allow the tailbone to lengthen. Roll the shoulders back and down. If it's comfortable, reach the arms up, and you can roll them back and down to get a little stretch through the back, or you can keep the hands on the hips or on the leg, stretching through the psoas muscle, very important to prepare for delivery. On the other side, knees quite wide, lean forwards either with the hands on the hips or on the knee. You can roll the shoulders back and down again, reach the arms up if that's comfortable. Let the belly be soft, stretching through that psoas muscle. Come back on all fours and recover in pose of a child. To stretch in the adductors and open in the pelvic region, we're going to come forwards, coming down onto the forearms or onto pillows, keeping the lower back long, keeping the feet together if you can, and letting the pelvis relax. Keep it comfortable, come up if you need to, reach out a bit further, stretch further if you can. Find what works for you. We want to gently stretch and encourage an opening rather than creating any discomfort. Of course, if you have any symphysis pubis disorders, this is not the exercise for you at this time. Sitting in Baddha Konasana, we'll have all the openness in the joints at the moment because of the elastin, getting ready for the pelvis to open in pregnancy. So we can have a wiggle side to side. If you need pillows under the knees, take them. You can press the hands into the mat. Have a gentle wiggle, so we're getting a lengthening through the pelvis, lengthening in the hip joints, making space, opening in the pelvis. Keep that length as you sit down. We're also making space for the bump. So we can press the hands into the mat to help you come forwards, or you can have the hands on the knees or hold the feet. Lifting nice and tall. The aim is not to bring the head down, the aim is to open in the groin. So find where you can be, make space for the belly, let the belly hang, and come back up. Babies usually love yoga and they tend to join in with some of the movements and kick around at times, or sometimes they sleep all the way through it. For a different opening in the pelvis, bring one leg wider than your pelvis if you can, hug the leg, and bring the other foot close towards it. So we're having an opening all the way through the pelvis. Press the hand into the mat, have a wiggle around, hug the knee with the same arm. Make sure you find space to breathe. Lift up nice and tall, so we're lengthening through the spine, through the ribs, through the belly, and bend forwards. And we're going to bring the hands down beside us, press them into the mat to help lift and lengthen. So we have space for the belly. You may not go quite as far all the way through. Just find where you can be. have a wiggle. We're opening in the pelvis, opening in the hips, opening in the groin, and creating some space for the belly hanging down. Find where you can be. Other side. Bring the foot up wider than the pelvis. Bring the other foot towards it. If you're bigger, you may need to take your feet further forward so you've got more space for the belly. Press the hands into the mat. Hug the leg with the same arm. Make space between the belly and the legs. Reach up with the hugging arm. Lengthen through the spine and the ribs as you fold forward. Bring your hands down beside you. Lift up and then gently slide forwards. So find that space, gentle wiggle. Let it feel nice. If it doesn't feel nice, back off and find where it does. It's okay to have a nice feeling of opening, and we want to get some strength. Sitting with the legs in easy pose. You can sit on pillows if you need to. It's good to sit with the sitting bones on the floor for this exercise because we're going to be working with the pelvic floor. So if you imagine a bit like a top of a duffel bag being squeezed together, lifted up. So think about the muscles of the pelvic floor coming from the sitting bones together and lifting up. Nothing forced, it's just a gentle working of a muscle, and let go. Breathe in, lift up and let go. So when you're sitting with the sitting bones on the floor, you should feel if the pelvic floor is hanging down on the mat, and you should feel that action between the sitting bones as you lift up and release. It can make a difference if you're leaning too far back or too far forwards. You may not feel it. What we want is sitting up with the shoulders above the hips so the sitting bones are nicely placed on the floor. Gently lift and let go. It's important to start working with this quite a lot now. Although we want the pelvic floor to open for delivery, we want the muscle to be able to work and to contract as well. So we want to have a flexible muscle that tightens when it needs to and relaxes when it needs to, rather than being too relaxed or too tight. And this is the time you may be wanting to oil the perineum to get that elasticity in the perineum. Squatting is a really important thing to do, preparing for delivery, to get the strength in the legs and also to support the back, get strength in the back, get strong pelvic area, and also to open in the hips. So if I teach anybody good lifting, I'll teach them good squatting. So feet wide apart now, because we've got to have space for the belly between the legs. We want the knees in line with the toes. Sit the seat back and sit down. So we can use the hands to lengthen through the spine, keep the neck in neutral. And then if you want to sit further down, and you can, just allow the arms to bend. Find the wiggle so your belly can hang. If you're flexible, you can take your hands down or even onto the floor. Allow the head to relax down. Find the position where it's comfortable for you to squat. You may even be able to squat all the way down in Malasana. For a wider squat, we're going to start similarly, but legs wide apart. Put the butt out behind you, lift the chest. Find the point where it works for you. Have a little wiggle side to side, wiggle your tail. It's good to get that sideways movement. You can bring the forearms on the thighs and just gently move the legs so the pelvis is moving. Stretching the side of the body. And then we can stretch one side by bringing the hand on the knee. Straighten the knee, bring the body forward. So we're stretching the inner thigh, we're stretching through the spine, we're allowing the belly to hang. And come back to the middle and the other side. So push the hand onto the leg, keep that knee facing the same way as the toe. Lengthen through the spine, belly hangs down, nice straight neck. Come back to the middle, bring the hands down on the floor if you can, bend the knees and have a little waggle with your bottom. Take it to one side and then to the other. And if you're flexible enough to straighten the legs, you can let your head hang down. Otherwise, bend the knees, hold the arms, allow your body to hang down. As long as this is not putting too much pressure on your diaphragm, in which case stay up, bring the hands on the knees, tuck the tailbone under and come up. It's important to keep the lower back nice and open, and a twist is very good for helping that. So we're going to press the hands into the mat, lift up and gently twist to one side. Take the hand outside the knee, or you can bring it on the floor or on the wider knee. Lift up, gently twist And get a gentle twist from the base of the spine coming up. There's nothing forced. Let the breath take you. So you lengthen on the inhale, twist on the exhale, keep the belly soft, keep the neck soft. Take a few breaths, come back to the front, press the back hand into the mat, other hand into the knee or into this knee. Lift up nice and tall, keep that length. Rotate from the base, all the way through. Keep the neck soft, keep the belly soft. Come back to the front. We also want to do some side stretching. So reach nice and tall with one arm, keeping that shoulder blade down. Reach up right from the tip of the butt to the fingertips, and then reach up with the other arm. And one arm reaches, so you're almost going to banana shape, and then the other. If you want to take it further, you can bring one hand down, reach up, and gently lean over. So find where it's comfortable for you to go. You may want to be on a pillow. You may go all the way, it depends on your flexibility. Let your head be relaxed and come back up. Reach up with the other arm, grow nice and tall. Find where your other hand needs to be to support you. Lift up nice and tall. Let the head be soft. And come back up. Have a wiggle. And I promise to show you how to do a piriformis sitting. So either get a chair or a ball. So finding a comfortable chair that supports your back, where you can have your knees at 90 degrees, feet on the floor. Back nice and supported, shoulders above the hips, crown above the base. We're going to stretch the piriformis. So if we bring one leg up and cross it over, taking the hands forward, thumbs in, palms forward, wrap them around the top of the legs, gently have a wiggle, lengthen through the spine, lengthen out of the pelvis, allow the belly space. We're going to lift up and gently slide forwards. Now we've got the legs wide, so there's space for the belly. We're aiming to stretch that muscle, the piriformis, from the sacrum across to the hip, and find where you can be with it. Gently breathing into it. It's an important muscle in delivery. It has strong connections with ligaments that hold the uterus into the same place in the sacrum. On the other side, bend the leg up, cross it over, palms forward, thumbs in, wrap them around the top of the thighs. Gently wiggle, make space in the hips, in the belly, in the spine. You may even like to do a few little circles. Lift up nice and tall, and we're going to slide forwards, bending at the pelvis. The aim is not to bring the head down, it's to open and stretch across this piriformis muscle. Breathe into it. If there's any tension, breathe into it, gently invite it to let go. You may like to have a wiggle. Relaxation at this stage will always involve pillows and laying on your side. So you want to find a reclined position. You'll probably want a pillow between your knees, and you may want a pillow under your belly. Find a comfortable position where your neck feels supported, your hips are supported by a pillow, and your belly is supported. Bring your hand onto your belly, connect with baby, connect with yourself. Take a moment, or as many moments as you need, to just relax, rest and recuperate from the movement. Thank you so much for joining me for a journey through this third trimester. Please like, subscribe, interact with me. I'm happy to engage with you and answer any questions you may have. And enjoy your last trimester of pregnancy. We'll be back with more pregnancy yoga videos very soon. Thank you so much. Please subscribe, like, write in the comments below, and go across to my other channels. I have Instagram, Lynn Bridgeford. I have Facebook channels for the clinic, for the yoga, and interact with me on all the channels, and I would be happy to connect with you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Thank you so much.